So, thank you everybody for being here. This is the Astoria Film Festival virtual panel with our own filmmakers. I appreciate you, Nader Bahu, Vlad Gradescu, and Angelina Rotodo. Am I saying it correctly? Rotodo?
Yeah, you're good.
Um,
Yeah, Rotodo.
Rotodo. If you want to tell us a little bit about each of your films and yeah, just kind of what was your film name and what was it about? Angelina, do you want to begin?
Oh, yeah, I can go first. I'm an animator, so I was in the animation block, and my film was The Scramble. So it was like a story about like a ninja chef trying to make a giant omelet using a very special egg and having to fight someone over it. And yeah, I made that during my second year studying at School of Visual Arts. And I'm a New York animator, studying in New York, but also living in California from time to time. Yeah.
Very cool. And our animation judges and moderators for the panels are all like professional animators, and they were just blown away really by the quality of work that was submitted. So thank you for being part of that. And I'll actually,
Yeah,
Brian
thank
Cord
you.
had asked me to put him in touch with everybody, so I've been trying to connect him on Instagram and LinkedIn, so I will continue to do that. Nader, do you want to go next? Oh, here's Ronald. I'll let him in. So Nader will type in the chat about his film. His film was called Voice Boxed. Nader says, my film is called Voice Box, and it's about a voice impaired man who wants to tell the girl he loves how much she means to him using his own voice. Nader's film, the film is played, written, and co-directed by me. And it won grand jury prize in our festival. It was beautifully done, as well as being an amazing story. It was also really well done, and it was also separately, not just because it won grand jury prize, but separately it was chosen by the people at Samantha to be on their part of their distribution. Hello. Oh, understood. No worries, Ronald. Putting my daughter to bed, I'll be back, says Ronald. Vlad, would you like to go next and just tell us about your film?
Sure thing. Yes, my name is Vlad Gradescu. My film was The Muse. It was about a nighttime commute gone wrong in New York City, and it was made as a nod to silent horror films that we adore, and just used it as an exercise to kind of figure out a cool way to tell a story without that much dialogue. So
Very cool. And I guess for all of you, you're starting with you, Vlad, and going back, what was the inspiration? You did allude to it in saying that it kind of a homage to classic horror, but like what was that aha moment that was like, I'm going to do it this way, right? Like something that kicked off the creation of this film.
yeah, so a close friend of mine and frequent collaborator, Walter Montiel, who's been part of the festival as well, he had written a screenplay about a street photographer who just kind of ticked off anytime he saw the color red through his lens, and I was always just fascinated by that concept. So I had was thinking about that while I was kind of hearing more and more stories about folks looking at just like really violent stuff in media on their phones. I feel like a lot of true crime podcasts and true crime shows are just so popular now. So I just kept thinking of a way to kind of explore just as to why or how we're accepting of a lot of violence in media, myself included. Obviously, I'm not judging anyone, but it's just something that is just ongoing. And at one point, can we start to question the morality of our involvement in it by constantly, eating it up? And I just kind of figured out that if I made a story about a photographer who's obsessed with photographing crime scenes, it would be a way to explore that. And then, as a his way of expressing his art form as well. So that's kind of how that came about.
Very cool. Yeah, I always think of that there's a quote from, do you ever see Clueless?
Yes.
When
Yeah,
she's
yeah.
giving the presentation and she's like, why take violence out of like entertainment when it's all over the news? You know, she's meaning that to be like a valid argument, but it is actually a very valid argument.
Yeah.
Nader, what was your kind of the aha moment where you were like, I have to make this, I'm making this now, like that, and that this specific storyline? Nader says, the inspiration is my own experiences of my voice. I've been trying to improve it for years, and due to filmmaking, my voice has become more clear. I wanted to make a film in a way to honor my voice and also tell myself I deserve to be loved. Being disabled comes from a lot of insecurities, and it comes with a lot of insecurities maybe, and I want to use my voice with my family, friends, and hopefully one day with a person I love. This film is directly from my heart. Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of times, like, society expects disabled people not to have a love life. And it's like, we're all human, right? Like, we all have the same desires. It's just the societal kind of boundaries are in the way, not so much personal boundaries. Angelina, what was your kind of inspiration?
Yeah, this was my first animated film that I worked on, so I just really wanted to have a fun time with it and deal with like ideas, aesthetics that like drew me towards animation and was just really fun and inspiring to me. So I really wanted like food to be a big concept involved because I love food. And I was really inspired by like a lot of like anime and like action sequences and just like really dynamic compositions and different kinds of films. So I really wanted to play with um fast-paced action and like changing the aspect ratio and just like lots of back and forth between the two characters. And that's something I um watched a lot of media to like kind of get influences from. So I watched a lot of anime and like also like Avatar Last Airbender was a big influence for me
Mhm.
and like Princess Mononoke. And also I was really inspired by the style of like ukiyo-e prints. I always thought like the way they're illustrated to be based off of like flat colors and line work and like a printing and like quick made medium was just so built for animation, and that was something I really wanted to experiment with. So I tried to implement that in the characters and like the way that the locations are designed. And just overall, I wanted it to be like a fun film that I personally would watch because I feel like that'd be a fun way to start creating films.
I can't believe it was your first film. It was really well done.
Thank you.
That's amazing. And yeah, I mean, I love the concept too, that it's like all of this swordplay and anime and fighting, but then it's an omelet, you know, is the is the object. It's always helpful, like whenever we have to do films with our schools, like the kids are always like, I want a zombie, you know, massacre. And we have to be like, well, you're 5, like we can't do that. So like, what's the alternative? So I will be thinking of you as I do this next year. Luis says, as someone interested in diving into animation, that sounds amazing. Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
thank you.
So I guess starting with you, Ronald, are you back from child rearing? Or are you still putting your daughter to sleep? I don't
I'm
mean to,
here. I'm
there you
here. I just
go.
got back.
I don't mean to
Hello.
skip over you.
How
If
you
you
doing?
want to, good, how are you doing?
Pretty good. Pretty good. Yeah, she refused to hug me because I didn't stay up there with her, but yeah, it is what it is. It's
The punishment is well
punishment.
deserved.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you
How's
want to
everybody
just tell
doing?
people what your film was, what it was about, and what the inspiration behind it was?
Oh, sure. My film is called Do You Trust Me? It's based on a date that I had. I'm gonna say 15 years ago. That's the number I need to go with. It was an outing at a diner where I took out my wallet and it was entirely too big. And this random act of kindness where my date actually asked if she could clean out my wallet right there at the table. And the only thing I could do, the only term that really was important of the contract that we made in that second was anything that I took out, I had to talk about. So it's loosely based on this date, and all the items are actually things that came out of my wallet, including the number that came from the 61-year-old woman. So it
So
was,
it was all kind of factual in its telling.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
And what
Yeah,
was
it
the
was.
inspiration behind it?
Um, the inspiration was just the casual kindness that I'd experienced with women in my past. Just like eh, there's this protective, amazing energy that I've experienced in my life, just like in these casual acts that I wanted to show people in a way that felt very like easy to understand. Um, it's- it's- she didn't know me from a can of paint and did this kind act, and I think my life I've had a number of those things. Something actually happened. It's super random and unrelated to this, and maybe I'll make a short about this. But one time I used to work in DC at the Pew Research Center as an IT professional,
Hmm.
and as I was walking down the street, an older lady said that I was trying to rob her, but I'm in like a suit and tie, and this beautiful Caucasian woman in her early 20s was like, this is not true. You're being racist. It was like this crazy act of kindness. Like I have these things happen throughout my life where I'm like,
Interesting.
I gotta make a short about this. I gotta make a short about this energy.
Well, I like that you focused on the person defending you and not the person assaulting you.
Oh
That's a
yeah.
positive way to go
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. You know, it happens every
for
once in
all
a
of
while.
us.
But
Yeah, that's a good
yeah.
outlook on things. Rachel, welcome. We're just going through kind of saying our name, our film, and what the inspiration behind it was, if you want to join in.
Awesome, thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Rachel Handler, and my film is called Unlucky in Love, and it is a movie musical that I made in 5 days for the Disability Film Challenge. So it was a ton of fun and a lot stressful. But yeah, it's about a couple and they meet and fall in love and everything's glorious, and then one person feels like the other one isn't telling them something, and it's revealed that she's losing her eyesight. So it's a comedy, but also pretty dramatic. And yeah, I'm excited to just
And
chat with
also a
everyone.
musical.
Yeah. And also a musical. Yes.
And your inspiration behind it was?
Um, yeah, comedy has to have some drama for sure.
Absolutely.
I'm especially drawn to like comedies that come from some sort of trauma too,
And
you
drama
know?
has to have some comedy. Yeah, I mean, that's life, right? Everything,
Yeah.
everything's like comical and awful at the same time. It's like it's pretty much life.
Yes. It's like, how do you get through the dark stuff if you don't find some sort of lightness in it, you know? Yeah.
Absolutely. But also it all comes together, right? Like there's no absolute
Yeah.
anything, right? There's no absolute good or absolute bad. So it's kind of
Yeah.
it all comes
Yeah.
together.
Absolutely. Like even in some of my favorite like sitcoms like The Golden Girls, there will be an episode where it's like sad and they're making a point of like
Yeah.
the nursing homes are not capable of taking care of all of their clients, you know? So I think that like the best shows and the stories that I'm interested in are ones that are very like authentic and specific and come from like a very truthful place. So that's what I did with my film. I was going through some undiagnosed pain myself, and I was thinking about like what that was doing to my relationship, and the story sort of stemmed from there. Yeah, Fresh
As
Prince of
Fresh Prince is
Bel-Air.
a great
Yeah.
example too. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think
Yeah.
more like 80s, 70s, 80s shows had that mix of like, like
Yeah.
there was a more of an emphasis on trying to make points and trying to teach people things in the midst of whether it was drama or comedy, like you still had to get points across, right? Whereas like
Yeah.
it kind of isn't as focused anymore, but there are some, there's still some.
Mm-hmm.
There's still plenty
Yeah.
of great stuff out there. So
Yeah, there's so many like dramedies now that I love that are like 45 minutes,
Yes,
on
yes.
Netflix. And
Yeah, I would
I'm
say,
realizing like, yeah, Netflix and Hulu and all the streamers really changed the game in that sense.
yes. Yeah, I mean, I'm addicted to K-dramas, and like you have a rom-com, but there's always like a serial killer and like a backstory of like, being orphaned, and it's like it's never it's a rom-com with like lots like tragedy. So that's kind of why I love it.
Oh,
Anyway,
that's funny. That's kind of like I just started working with Real One Productions. I'm hopefully going to be writing a feature for them, and they do a lot of like the Lifetime thrillers
yes.
and some of the like romantic comedies, but all of their thrillers too, like a lot of them have some sort of like romance angle with comedic elements. Not quite like the serial killer is the love interest or anything, but like
No,
they
there's
have a
always like
little bit of that.
there's somewhere off in the, like the love interests, um, other love interest, their ex-boyfriend, or somebody like that. There's always some kind of killer
Yeah.
somewhere in the picture, if you will.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And they have such like specific specifications too. Like the lead has to be solving the crime, but she can't be a cop or like a detective. And the threat has to be directly affecting her. And like you can't use there can't be gunfights, but knives are okay. And like a child can't be in danger. And like all of these like specific things.
Fascinating.
Yeah, which is why I'm like, I like to make my own shorts, because that way I can do whatever I want to do without any rules.
Yes, true. So
Yeah.
for all of you, is that why do you do this, I guess, is the question, right? Like, Rachel's saying she makes her own shorts so that she gets to have creative control. Other people, I think, love the creative outlet. Some are just beginning and pursuing it. Like, why did you what was your motivation to create this? Do we want to go back down? Ronald, do you want to take that?
Oh, sure. One of the things I said on the panel during the festival was I like boring stories about people of color, and I think that we don't have a lot of those.
Yeah.
And a lot of the ones that are presented to us don't have the nuance that we think we have as people. We all have as people. And yeah, boring stories are good. Like, believe it or not, like I like a story when just two people who are just relaxing in a place doing a thing, and the conflict might just be the dynamic of their relationship, that they have two different sets of values versus like fighting poverty or saving your parents, or
Right. Right.
or being the sole Black person in an education system that's racist. I don't want to see all that all the time. Sometimes I just want to see two people having a boring conversation about a wallet, or a conversation about, vision. It's like, it's cool. I like Rachel's premise. It's really cool. So I want to see more things like that with people that look like me. And it's important. And I think I didn't realize it until I showed it to more people, how it hit home. And for other people that just were like, my friend, one of my best friends is white. It sounds like I'm trying to.
I have a white friend.
I have a white friend. No, that's not true. But yeah, I have a friend that happens to be white. He's like, man, I didn't think about how infrequent I see just two Black people talking without any like conflict,
Yes,
or like,
yes.
reality TV show or something like that. So,
I mean, that was one of the reasons I liked it so much, was because I was like, oh, it's just because I too want to see more of that. Like I'm really interested in seeing more of just people of color doing what my friends of color do, and not like all the
yeah,
drama.
right, just regular
Just
stuff.
being people.
Yeah, for sure.
Just being allowed to exist.
Yeah.
Angelina?
Yeah, I think the reason why I'm pursuing like animation in general is because like I always grew up watching a lot of like animated content, and there were times where I realized like as like some of my favorite shows came out, animation can be a medium that can like appeal to like people even just like besides like children's media, because I feel like there's always been like a stereotype of animation being like strictly for kids or just like a very specific genre. But as you get like feature films that are like Pixar where they go really deep into storytelling, or you get like shows that come out that go deeper and like past like episodic elements and they address like more serious concepts and ideas. I was like, wait, animation can like tell any kind of story, and that's like so cool. And it's like such a fun medium to work with, and I want to explore what that's like. So I just really got into animation, like, and how it's made. Like, I feel like animation became more accessible, where the behind the scenes of things were revealed, and then you could see like how like a concept like can be made through so many stages of just like design and like story and polish and everything and technology. And I was like, that's so cool. I really want to learn more about that. And just like I wanted to like follow in the footsteps of like artists I admired who like showed me that animation can be anything, and I wanted to build my skills and like make my own films so that I can like also tell stories that I think can appeal to everybody and just like show that animation can be a medium just like all kinds of other films where you can just tell any story you want, like and appeal to like stories that represent yourself or just represent your own interests and just be across like any genre. So yeah, that's why I am where I am right now. So yeah, I really love pursuing animation.
I think anime and webtoons have dispelled the myth that animation is just for children, you know, like
Yeah.
they're everywhere. And I think we'll see a lot more kind of animation to live action productions because they already have a fan base, and they're, you know, like the people investing in the live action are going to kind of look at that more seriously, similar to like the One Piece crossover, if you would, whether you like it or not. I know.
Yeah.
I don't mean to get into that, but it's definitely out there. Even like with us, we did a lot of like live action video games the kids wanted to do. How do we make my video game into a movie? It's like, all right, we'll figure it out, right? Like I see that happening on streaming as well. Nader, what was your sorry. Nader says, I make my films for me, and truthfully, I don't expect people to relate to it due to me being so different than everyone else. I make my films to express myself. I am very introverted as well, need to work on my socializing. So I get really surprised when people disabled and not disabled tell me they relate to my stories. Oh, interesting, because many people did. I'm very surprised I can act. I don't make disabled stories, and I think putting it in that box is odd to me because in my stories, I'm not really focused on the disability, but the human feelings that come with it. I feel I write and create through my human emotions, and my disability is what comes with it. Yeah, definitely. I love that. Well, many people related. I don't know whether that's so yeah, I you know, from our judges to everyone in the audience, you know, definitely many people related to it. Me too. Vlad?
Yeah, Nader, just once again, I wanted to mention how much I like your film as well. Like I said it already, but also did relate to it, and it was special. It made me kind of to carry that to the point. It's just always had a love relationship with films my whole life, and I was fortunate enough to work in film on the marketing side for a while there, and just the transitioning over to production has always been the dream. And first few projects were very personal, and I realized how difficult that was. So I commend all of you for telling personal stories because it is not easy.
It's hard. You're kind of going through therapy as you're going through production, which is neither is easy. So
yeah, but that's
yes, Nader says it's emotionally draining, 100%, 100%.
Yeah, I was fortunate to hear Steven Spielberg talk about the experience of making a film, and he said if every day on set you don't feel like you get punched in the face, you're doing something wrong. So It's that kind of drew me into it, and the just I feel like as a kid, it was a way for me to bond with my father in ways, just seeing him express his emotions while watching a film in ways that just he never would, and it made me realize just how powerful this medium is, and just how that's the case for a lot of folks, and being able to do it is something I've always wanted to.
I love that. So starting with you, Vlad, and going back down, like, what's your next project? What are you working on now, or what do you have in mind that's coming up?
Sure. So I'm working as cinematographer on Walter project that I mentioned before, but also I'm going to be directing another silent film. I promise I'll include some dialogue at some point.
No,
But
no need. If you can get your message across, no need.
yeah, this one is called Dillard's Dollar, and it's about a street performer who earns his first dollar from his craft, and then it flies away. So he spends the rest of the day kind of chasing his dollar around, and figure out a way to get it back because it means so much to him. So that
Wow,
is an. We're also shooting it in Queens. We're on a streak of shooting everything in Queens. We're shooting at Flushing Meadows Park, so it's gonna be a lot of fun.
very cool. Nader, do you have things happening coming up? What's on your agenda? Trying to make a film happen, but it's too early for now. Gotcha. Well, keep us posted. Happy to help in any way we can, and would love to see it. I'm also considering to slow down. Yeah, I hear that. I very much hear that. Mental rest. Yup, yup. I relate very much so. So valid, says Angelina. Yeah, Angelina, at the animation session, a lot of your peers talked about the goo. Is that a thing? Like, I hadn't heard that phrase before, but it made a lot of sense. Like they were like, I'm stuck in the goo, like post animation. Is that something you guys use often? That I just
That's that's funny. That's such an inside joke. I'm surprised that that would be brought up. But yeah, there's always like the goo anxiety of making animation. We're just like constantly haunted by like ominous goo. But yeah, that's true.
So yeah,
That's
it's
funny.
like it was explained as like the feeling after you've finished a project and you just like you're in the goo stage and you're just like you can't move, like you don't want to get out of bed, you don't want to like shower, you're just like in the goo, if you will.
Yeah.
I was like, I so understand that feeling. I never heard it referred to that before. So what are you working on next, Angelina?
Um, so I'm about to finish working on another film that I was working on this year. And then for my fourth year at SBA, we also have to come up with our thesis film. So I'm kind of like in between both of those right now, going back and forth.
I've heard that's a
But
bit
yeah,
of a fourth year at SVA is a bit of a killer year. Is that
yeah, or yeah, third or my final year is pretty stressful because you're working on your final project, and I feel like this year in particular was really crazy because we kind of had to think about in the third year SBA, we had to make a group film, an independent film, and then start thinking about the thesis at the same time. So I was like, I want to be in the goo. I want to take a break. Like, yeah, there's a lot going on, but yeah, I'm just animating and trying. I also am like hoping to slow down a bit and like be like able to rest so that I can properly give myself the time and energy to work on my thesis. But yeah, I'm trying to like get back into finishing this current film I'm working on, which is like very also action packed. It's like it has robots and like chase sequences and like it's like an homage to kind of like Akira, but it's like a little bit more silly. It's like a very silly version of Akira, but you can keep an eye out on it if it comes out in the future. It'll be called Lunchbox. It has to deal with fast food and like bike sequences. And then yeah, I'm working on like a something more character heavy for my thesis where it'll be like a story of like two sisters like who are kind of like in an argument, but then they end up being trapped in a convenience store with a werewolf, and they have to figure out their issues so that they can get
As
through
one does.
the night. Yeah.
Yeah, I
But
love
that's what
that.
I've been working on.
Awesome. Um, I guess, Ronald, what's happening for you these days? What's next?
Oh, I'm writing a suspense horror-ish sort of movie. This is like maybe 30 minutes this time. I wanted to be really succinct. I think like funny games, like a psychological thriller where people are kind of trapped in their house based on, I'll say, technology. That's the
Oh,
hint I'll give.
interesting.
Yeah.
As a
So
former IT guy, you have that's
yeah, I'm like,
insight. Like,
how can your technology trap you in a way that's like,
it's kind of like the Halish of Hal Siri thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm working on it. I've outlined the script. I just have to write it, and then figure out how to shoot it. So I'm really scared. I'm petrified, but I'm gonna do it.
It'll
I'm gonna do it.
happen. I have full
Thank
faith.
you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Um, Rachel, what's next on you were talking a little about your writing gig. Do you want to?
Yeah, so I'm working on that. It's like a thriller for Lifetime, essentially, if they decide to have me write it. I just finished the 2-pager for that. And I have like a holiday family sort of drama that I've written, and I've been told it's too sad and real for Hallmark or Lifetime. So I'm sort of figuring out if I need to, well, if I want to change it for them, or if I want to make it like a little grittier and just lean into the indie vibe of the story. So I've got like those features in mind. And I have a pilot that I've been trying to get off the ground for forever. So I've got that in my on the back burner as well. And I'm actually about to shoot a film in Astoria, a short film. It's called The A Doesn't Stand for Accessible, and it's about how they like just did those beautiful renovations of the subway platforms in Astoria,
Yes.
and they only made
with no
one.
elevators. Yeah.
I think Astoria Boulevard has an elevator,
All
but the
art
rest
and no
don't.
elevators. Like how
Yeah.
I mean,
So
not
they
to
look
put down the
great.
art, but
Yeah. It's frustrating when many, many millions of dollars were spent. So so I wrote a short script like 5 years ago when that was happening, and it won like a Sundance Monthly Challenge award.
oh,
And we're finally getting around to producing it this summer. So I think we're shooting in Astoria, at least for those platform scenes.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that'll be fun.
And you won the Gotham Sound Award, so that's right. Have you do I need to put you in touch with them? I probably should put you. I'm trying to think of like you have the certificate,
Well,
right?
it's a gift certificate. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think I'm gonna
you're
give
very
that
lucky.
to. I've heard great things about Gotham Sound.
It's not just a store, like they very much are interested in what you're doing and how they can help you. They'll give you advice. They'll, they're really good at education in terms of sound design and sound mixing. So, and make use of that because they're lovely.
Cool. Oh, I will. Yes. The person who did sound for Unlucky in Love, I think is also going to end up doing sound for this short film. So I'm going to give them the gift certificate, and I'm going to tell them to reach out to Gotham Sound. That's awesome. Yeah.
They've done workshops for our students and like they really just went all out and for nothing. We just kind of brought the kids to them, and they have a whole area for like tables and chairs just where they educate, and then it's within the store that has all the great stuff. So they're very open, and they have a great podcast too. So just all about educating the industry on sound design and sound mixing.
Amazing. Oh my gosh, that's really cool. Yeah. I don't know if you all have had this experience, but a lot of times when I do a film, the hardest crew position to fill is sound.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Why?
I mean, I think the younger kids that I work with, luckily, are starting to realize that that's a good position to be in because like people need it. So they're starting to, you know, and get an interest in it. But I know from my own work, and then also, you know, it's always a hard position to fill because people just don't really focus on it enough. But truly, if you have a beautiful looking film and your sound is bad, it's going to hurt you more than if you have a great sounding film with okay graphics, visuals, right? So it's very important, but I don't think people realize that as much yet. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel free to talk to each other. Like we have a great, like enough to put in clips and online. So I want you guys, do you want me to stop recording and you can chat? Let me, how do I stop recording? That's a question. Oh, there we go. Okay.